I'm Hale Irwin, and you're watching the Rychnovsky Recap.
Thanks, Hale. More with the Hall of Famer later in the show. All righty, although some saw record low scores at Inverness this week, the club and the entire city did do a great job of hosting the 32nd U.S. Senior Open. But the big question remains, when or if Inverness will host a U.S. Open or another major championship. The next possible U.S. opening will come in 2020, which just so happens to be 100 years after the first Open Championship was staged at Inverness in 1920. Tonight, the USGA's Tim Flaherty is in the house. We're talking golf at Inverness. Tim, it's been a long week. I appreciate you coming in tonight. Let's talk a little bit about Inverness in general. Another successful tournament. What is it about Inverness and the USGA and hosting major championships?
Sure. Well, I think, again, another successful week. I think we start with the golf course. It's a wonderful Donald Ross layout. The players love to be here. The spectators love to be here. The USGA loves to be here. I've done 16. This is my 16th U.S. Senior Open. In 03 at Inverness, and this week, far and away from the players, most compliments to the golf course. Love being back here. A lot of them played in 86, 93, but even back in 03, Nicholas was here and Palmer, even those guys were saying it's great to be back at Inverness. And again, a lot of that this week. Great to be back in Inverness. So I think it really starts with the course. Get beyond the course, you got a great membership, a great volunteer community here with Toledo, and a great support from the whole city. So it's been another great Senior Open for us.
And what are the chances of bringing a U.S. Open back to Toledo? Obviously, the economy's tough this time, but
sure.
Again, it's 2020, so it's a ways off.
Yeah. Well, I think at this point in the game, I think right now we're named through 1919 with our U.S. Open sites. We have several sites who have issued an invitation for 2020. Inverness has an invitation in it. They make no secret that they'd like the 2020 U.S. Open. And again, it comes down to a lot of factors, and there's a lot of sites, as I said earlier about the Senior Open, comes down to golf course quite a bit. But the other things play into that. But Inverness, again, has put on 2 great Senior Opens, puts them in good standing with the USGA. But again, pretty competitive, a lot of courses. Geography starts playing into it, West Coast, East Coast, Midwest. All those types of things play into it. So I think, look, Inverness has put on a great show 2 times in a row for us. We think highly of Inverness, and they're very much into this discussion as we move forward with U.S. Open sites.
Well, and they changed some holes around to move fans around easier. Structurally, it's very easy to get to as far as parking. It's basically you can park everybody on site. You don't have to shuttle people in from way out. You just go over some of the positives that it has in its favor.
It's a great facility operationally. It's got a tremendous amount of space around the property. Again, as you said, parking, ample parking areas. People like me who run golf tournaments, we look at areas for concessionaires, areas for tent vendors, those types of things. Plenty of compound space out at Inverness because they got those fields right next to them. So in that respect, very strong as far as the infrastructure goes. And again, the golf course speaks for itself. So I think those are real positives. I think the positive is the golf course. I think the positive is the infrastructure there and just the surrounding area. If you look at the great, corporate 10 area we had along the 12th hole this week, that came out really well. Really, well appreciated by the corporate people that were there. So I think it gives you flexibility to do a lot of different things in Inverness because of the size and some of the space surrounding the property.
Well, and they can lengthen it too. It played over 7,100 yards this week for the Senior Open, and then they can go back even further. Let's talk about golf in general. Let's talk about, because it's really changed. I mean, now everybody hits the ball a mile. Even some of the seniors are belting it out there 300 yards. Is the game really outgrowing some of the older courses?
Joe, I run golf tournaments for a living, and we have other people that concern themselves with those types of issues. But I think they say you can't play golf courses like Inverness anymore. Well, that's not the case. As we saw this week, very competitive. We're going back to Marion in 13 with the U.S. Open, a place that said, today's game has outgrown places like Marion.
Shinnecock Hills.
We're going back to Marion. Exactly. Olympic Club next year for our men's U.S. Open. People don't realize Olympic Club isn't that long. It's under 7,000 yards. So we still think that those courses are very viable and playable for our national championships.
Let's talk a little bit about some of the younger players. We'll move away from the seniors for just a moment, talk about the Rory McIlroys of the world, some of the younger guys that are coming up. We had Tiger Woods. I'm not going to get into the Tiger Woods thing with you, but and Tiger and Phil had their time, and now you've got a lot of good young players that are really kind of reinvigorating, shall I say, golf. Is that a fair assessment? And how will that take the game into the next generation?
Yeah, no, I think you're right, Joe. I think there's definitely a good group of players. I mean, the Europeans are doing very well recently with McIlroy and Graham McDowell, you know, Martin Kamer and people like that, good young players. But there's Americans too. I mean, you know, you look at Dustin Johnson. He's getting close. He's had a little trouble on Sundays in recent years, but incredible talent, incredible to watch play, fun to watch play. And I think you're right. I think there's a new generation of golfers coming through, and that is only a positive for the game.
Rickie Fowler is a young man that played at Inverness in the NCAA championships a few years ago before turning pro. You know, he wears the different outfits. He's got a lot of style, a lot of charisma, and he has game too. That can only be good, I would think, to enhance the popularity with the younger generation, because you know it's a younger man's game. Although you can play it into your hundreds and 90s and however.
Absolutely, I think Rickie Fowler is a great personality, a great player for the game. I remember I used to oversee the U.S. Amateur. I remember at 09 out at Southern Hills. We had a lot of orange shirts here, Oklahoma State. Rickie Fowler lost in the first round of match play. Class act the whole way. He lost to a kid named Bud Cauley from Alabama, another Walker Cup player. But, you know, Rickie had a lot of people riding on him, but he went out in the first round. But again, showed a lot of class, a lot of dignity, lost the right way, which to me says a lot about a guy. But I think Rickie's great. I think he brings a lot of color to the game and will bring youth and enthusiasm to the game as well.
You've been doing this for a long time. What's special about golf, and how have you seen it change over the years, not just in technology and the different personalities, but what is so special about golf? Because each community, I think what it's done for Toledo, at least the Senior Opens, not only in 03, but this one this year, it just brings the entire community together.
I do think that's the great thing about it. And we go around different places in the country. That's what keeps my job exciting. I do the Senior Open, and I also do the Women's Open. You know, I think of people that run a tour event every year in the same city. And sometimes I wonder, you know, after about the second time you do it, everything's, you know, we figure it out when we're giving away the trophy. Just when we figure it out, we're going on. But I think you're right, Joe. I think, you know, and Toledo's a great example of that. It's a sort of a mid-level market. But, you know, we had all the networks out there every day, the community support, the whole thing.
But back in 03, when we had the U.S. Senior Open here, we had Jack Nicklaus and the legendary Arnold Palmer kind of playing in their last hurrahs. You don't have that this year, but at the same time, a lot of people are out. They want to see the guys out there. You know, you've got guys like Russ Cochran, who won the Senior British Open last week. You know, the Jay Haas's of the world, the older Fuzzy Zeller, Hale Irwin. You know, you still have the big names. Are you not, I don't want to say surprised, but are you thankful that it's been this popular and been able to sustain its success without the two big
Exactly.
names?
You know, Joe, when I started the Senior Open, that was our we had Jack Nicklaus and we had Arnold Palmer, and that was our marketing, and that was what we promoted. And there was a concern internally. David Fay, our executive director, older executive, we used to talk about all the time, what happens when Jack and Arnie leave. But you know what, it's gone pretty well, because the names have come through. It's been a natural progression. So it's always, you know, how will the game survive without X, or how will the game survive without Y? The game's bigger, I think, than any one person.
Tim, it's been a pleasure. I appreciate you coming in tonight. It's been a long week. Best of luck. We want you back here in 2020.
Okay.
We want that U.S.
I'll
Open.
let them know, Joe.
Yeah, like I've got Eddie Paul.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much, Joe. It's been a great week here in Toledo, and we look forward to being back sometime.